Greetings, friends. On today's episode, I'll be making Valentine's Day wax melts for a good friend of mine's Galentine's event. Also, I restock my fast-selling beard oil and make a slight recipe adjustment. I cook one of my family's favorite meals while caring for all the plants and flowers that they gifted me. All that and more coming up. A good friend of mine owns a coffee shop in Charlotte, and she's got a Galentine's event going on next weekend. And she asked if I could make some Valentine's Day wax melts for some swag bags. So I went online and ordered these heart-shaped molds, and I'm going to make wax melts in these. And I thought this would be a perfect opportunity for me to show you guys how I determine how much wax is going to fit in each cavity. So if you have an unknown size, an unknown container, an unknown cavity, this is how you check to see how much wax is going to fit in each. Now, wax weighs less than water, and wax is only about 86% of water's density. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up one of these cavities with water. So I was able to add 1 ounce of water into one of those cavities. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 1 and multiply it by 86% or 0.86, because remember, wax is approximately 86% the density of water. So 1 times 0.86 is 0.86. So each one of those cavities can fit about 0.86 ounces of wax. I've got 20 cavities that I need to fill. So in total, that would be 17.2 ounces of wax. However, I'm also going to add 10% fragrance oil load. So I'm going to need to subtract 10%, which is minus 1.72 ounces. That's the amount of fragrance oil that I'm going to add. So 17.2 minus 1.72 ounces of fragrance oil leaves me with 15.48 ounces of wax that I need to melt down. I know that seemed like a lot, but you got this. So while my wax is melting down, I'm going to weigh out 1.72 ounces of fragrance oil. Now, I normally don't do this, but I've decided to add some dried rose petals to the top of my wax melts. I don't do this in my candles because those rose petals would come directly in contact with a flame, and I don't want that. However, the wax melts are just on a warmer. They don't come in contact with the flame, so I thought I'd go ahead and give it a shot. Fingers crossed I don't destroy an entire batch of these wax melts. So now that my wax is about 185 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm going to add my fragrance oil, remove it from the heat, and mix it for about 2 minutes. So on the first pour, I'm only going to pour enough to wet the rose petals because I want them to stick to the bottom of the mold, because when I take the wax melt out, the bottom will be the top, and I want my rose petals to be showing on the top. And now I'm gonna pour my second and final layer. I am so impressed because each of these cavities are filled to the top. This one that's already solidifying and this one right here that I just poured. And if you look at my container, it's empty. So those numbers worked out perfectly. I'm melting down another pitcher of wax because I want 40 wax melts in total. These molds are super deep. See how thick they are? So I put them in the refrigerator to let them cool down a little more quickly. Now let's see if we've got a perfect heart-shaped wax melt. And this is a good sized wax melt. It's rather large. Look how big it is in comparison to the palm of my hand. That's pretty big. Wax melts, and they are gorgeous. All right, so I'm going to pack all of these up in a box, and then I've got to make that beard oil that I told you guys about. So I've just slightly changed the recipe to my Caribbean teak wood beard oil, and I'll post that new recipe on my Patreon. But what I've done is I've increased the amount of vitamin E that I use in this recipe. I used to use 0.5% vitamin E, and what that does, it just helps preserve the life of the fragrance in that product. It's not a preservative, but it helps prevent that fragrance oil from becoming rancid as quickly. But I'm going to bump that percent of vitamin E up to 2% because I want to add additional moisturizing and conditioning properties to this beard oil. And I am really impressed on how well this beard oil has been selling. I'm getting a lot of repeat customers. I'm getting a lot of people that are buying another bottle even before theirs has run out. Now we're going to melt down our phase 1 ingredients, and I'm using a warm water bath. And once that's melted down, then I'm going to come back and I'll weigh out my fragrance oil and my vitamin E. So now my phase 1 ingredients have melted down, and once it cools down to below 110 degrees Fahrenheit, then I'll go ahead and add my vitamin E and my fragrance oils. family asked me what I wanted for Christmas and I said plants. I don't know if it's my way of trying to get over empty nest syndrome now that all my children are grown, but that's what they got me and I'm super excited about it. I've been doing a really good job at keeping them alive for the most part, but one plant in particular I left outside entirely too long in the cold weather, so I'm trying to re-nurse that plant back now. This is what it looks like today. It has grown so much. I water it on a regular basis, but it's recommended to allow the soil to dry between watering so that your soil isn't soggy. I also use this fertilizer with all-purpose plant food, and I think that's really helping this plant revitalize and come back to life. Thank you all for spending another day with me. If you want the recipe to the Valentine's Day wax melt, that's going to be posted on my Patreon, and the link to my Patreon's in that description box below. If you want the recipe to the beard oil, that's also on my Patreon. And let me know, how do you take care of your flowers? Is getting plants or flowers a way to get over the empty nest syndrome? I don't know, but if you guys have any advice for me on this whole watering, planting, flower journey, please let me know. Put it in the comments below, because as it starts to get warm outside, I want to transfer, well, the plants that I'm able to transfer, I want to put those outside and kind of build a garden type thing out there. So thank you all again for tuning in. Please give me a huge thumbs up if you like this content, and please hit that notification and subscribe button so you can be notified anytime I post new content. Until next time, bye guys.